Jamie adjusted the ring light, squinting at the glare bouncing off their glasses. The familiar hum of their PC filled the quiet apartment, background noise for the thousands of viewers tuning into tonight's stream. "All right, chat, let's get into it," Jamie said, flashing a grin at the camera. Another deep dive into the weird and unexplained. Tonight's topic: the Black Hollow disappearances. The live chat scrolled rapidly, a blur of emojis and reactions. Jamie leaned in, reading aloud. "Ooh, spooky. Jamie, you look tired, get some sleep." Jamie paused. The last message stood out, no emoji, no context, just a string of numbers. The username, Lurker_23. "Thanks for the timestamp, Lurker_23. Jamie chuckled, forcing a lightness into their voice. "Guess we'll see what happens at 3 a.m. The chat erupted in laughter, but Jamie's fingers lingered over the keyboard. The comment felt off, too precise, too deliberate. A notification popped up. Alex, their mod and closest friend, had joined the stream. "Lurker's back," Alex typed in the private mod chat. "Same weird timestamp crap. Probably just a bot." Jamie exhaled. "Yeah, probably." But as the stream continued, Jamie's eyes kept flicking back to the chat log. Lurker_23 hadn't said another word. No follow-up, no explanation, just that one cryptic line. By the time Jamie wrapped up, the unease had settled like a weight in their chest. They shut off the camera, the screen blinking to black, except it didn't. The feed was still live. Jamie frowned, clicking furiously. The software insisted the stream had ended, but the camera light remained on, a tiny red eye in the dark. Then, a whisper of movement behind them. Jamie spun, heart pounding. The apartment was empty. Just shadows stretching long across the floor. But for a second, just a second, they could have sworn something had flickered in the corner of the screen. A shape, watching. Jamie slammed the laptop shut. Silence. Then, from the other room, a soft, rhythmic tap, 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 like fingers against glass. Jamie's breath hitched. The first comment had been at 9:37 p.m. It was now 9:37 p.m. Jamie hesitated before clicking the Go Live button, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The apartment felt too quiet, the usual hum of the PC now a tense silence. Last night's stream had ended with that eerie tap tap tap, but when Jamie had checked the hallway, there had been nothing. Just the empty dark. Probably just the pipes, they told themselves. Still, their thumb brushed the salt line they'd drawn along the windowsill earlier, an old superstition Alex had laughed at. "You're really buying into your own content now, huh?" Jamie forced a grin as the stream went live. "Hey chat, back at it with another deep dive. Tonight we're talking about the Lakeford silent calls. You know, those creepy phone recordings where no one speaks." The chat flooded in, a comforting wave of familiar usernames and jokes. But Jamie's stomach dropped when they spotted it. Lurker_23, 12:08 a.m. Same format, same cold precision. "Thanks for the heads up, Lurker," Jamie said, voice strained. The timestamp was in just under an hour. Alex's private message popped up. "Block them already. This is getting weird." Jamie hesitated. What if it's a clue? Like part of the bit. It's not funny. Jamie exhaled. They minimized the chat and kept talking, but their eyes kept darting to the clock. As 12:08 approached, Jamie made a show of checking their phone, pretending to scroll. All right, chat, let's see if the witching hour delivers. The seconds ticked by. 12:08, 30, 31, 32. Jamie held their breath. 33. Nothing. No glitch, no shadow, no whisper. Just the quiet hum of the stream. Jamie laughed, tension bleeding out. Well, guess Lurker's batting 0 tonight. Moving on. But then the chat exploded. Jamie, look behind you. What was that? Oh, hell no. Jamie's blood turned to ice. They whipped around. Empty room. Just their own reflection in the dark window. You're gonna have to be more specific, Jamie said, forcing a chuckle. Dude, something moved in the corner. Like a shadow, but not. Jamie rewound the stream feed, heart pounding. At 12:08:33, the camera flickered, just for a frame. And there, in the upper left corner, a blur, or a shape darker than the rest of the shadows. Lurker_23, did you see it this time? Jamie's hands shook as they ended the stream abruptly, ignoring the flood of confused messages. The room felt colder. They pulled up the footage, scrubbing through frame by frame. The shadow was there, faint but undeniable. A humanoid silhouette, just out of focus. Watching. Jamie's phone buzzed. Alex. You okay? That was intense. Jamie typed back, fingers unsteady. It's in the footage. Something's really here. A pause. Then, I'm coming over. Jamie set the phone down, eyes scanning the room. The salt line was still intact. The window was locked. But as they turned back to the screen, the reflection in the monitor wavered, just for a second. Something stood behind them. Jamie spun, but the room was empty. The Livestream software flickered back on by itself. A single message waited in chat from an account that hadn't been there before. Lurker_24, you're not the first. You won't be the last. Then the screen went black. Horror from the hallway. Tap, tap, tap. Jamie's fingers trembled as they scrolled through old stream archives, the blue glow of the monitor casting long shadows across their face. The apartment was silent, except for the occasional creak of the floorboards, sounds that had never bothered them before. Now, each noise sent a jolt down their spine. They paused on a clip from 2 weeks ago, back when Lurker_23 was just another anonymous username in chat, with the timestamp in the corner read 03:15:42, the exact numbers from that first comment. Jamie rewound, watching their past self laugh at a joke in chat. The stream had ended at 3:14 a.m., but the camera had kept recording. The footage showed an empty room for exactly 1 minute and 42 seconds before finally cutting to black. Impossible. Jamie's breath hitched. They pulled up another stream, then another. Every time Lurker_23 commented with a timestamp, it matched a silent stretch of footage, moments when Jamie wasn't live, when the camera shouldn't have been running. A knock at the door made them jump. Alex stood in the hallway, arms crossed. "You look like hell." Jamie dragged them inside, locking the door behind them. "It's not a bot. It's not a glitch." They shoved the laptop toward Alex. "Look. Measures." Alex squinted at the screen, scrolling through the timestamps. Their frown deepened. "Okay, that's weird. But it could just be a hacker messing with your software. A hacker who also makes shadows appear in my footage." Jamie pulled up the clip from last night, the blur in the corner, the flicker at 12:08:33. Alex paled. Okay, that's not great." Jamie paced, running a hand through their hair. "What if it's not just watching? What if it's learning?" Alex hesitated. "You think it's tied to the missing vlogger you researched? The one from Black Hollow?" Jamie stopped. The detective's words echoed in their mind. She kept saying something was in her streams. "We thought it was stress, until she vanished." The laptop screen flickered. Both of them froze. A new tab had opened on its own, an old forum thread from 2014, buried deep in a paranormal subreddit. The title: "Who was Lurker _23?" The top comment was a single sentence. "They're not a who, they're a when." Alex grabbed Jamie's wrist. "We're calling the cops." Jamie didn't move. Their eyes were fixed on the screen, where the Livestream software had just activated, without either of them touching it. The camera feed showed their empty apartment. But in the corner, the shadow twitched. Then, slowly, it turned its head. The screen went black. From the kitchen, the faucet turned on by itself, water rushing into the sink. Alex's grip tightened. "Jamie." A whisper, barely audible, curled through the room. "See you soon." The lights went out. Jamie's pulse hammered in their ears as they fumbled for their phone, the screen's dim glow barely cutting through the suffocating dark. The faucet still ran in the kitchen, water splashing against the sink in uneven bursts. Alex's voice was tight. "Flashlight. For now." Sorry." Jamie swiped to their phone's light, the beam trembling as it swept across the room. The laptop screen remained black, but the camera's red indicator light glowed faintly, still active. "It's watching," Jamie whispered. Alex grabbed the laptop and snapped it shut. "Not anymore." It were. For a moment there was only silence. Then the lights flickered back on, harsh and sudden. Jamie flinched, half expecting the shadow to be standing in the center of the room. But the apartment was empty. Just the two of them, the hum of the fridge, and the relentless drip of the faucet. Jamie forced himself to move, shutting off the water with a stiff twist of the wrist. Their reflection in the kitchen window looked hollow-eyed, haunted. Alex exhaled sharply. "Okay, new plan. We go through all your old streams. Every single one. If this thing leaves traces, we'll find them." Jamie nodded, but their hands still shook as they reopened the laptop. The screen stayed blank for a heartbeat, then flickered to life, their desktop icons reappearing like nothing had happened. They pulled up the archives again, this time scrolling further back. Weeks, months. "There," Alex muttered, pointing. A clip from 6 months ago, long before Lurker _23 ever appeared in chat. The stream had ended at 1:23 a.m., but the timestamp in the corner ticked onward, 1:24:18. The footage showed Jamie's empty chair, the room dark except for the faint glow of standby lights. Then, a whisper of movement near the bookshelf. A shadow, elongated and wrong, sliding across the wall like something was pressing against it from the other side. Jamie's throat went dry. It's been here longer than we thought. Alex pulled up another video, then another. Every offline extension had something, a flicker in the corner, a blurred shape in the doorway. And always, the timestamps matched Lurker_23's comments to the second. Jamie's breath hitched. It's not just watching. It's marking them, like it's keeping track of when it can move. Alex's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then we checked the one place we haven't looked. They typed in a search, Black Hollow missing vlogger, last stream. The screen loaded a grainy, decade-old video. A young woman sat in a dimly lit room, her face drawn. "I know you think I'm crazy," she whispered to the camera. "But it's in the timestamps. When I'm offline, it's still there. It's learning my..." The video cut to static. When it cleared, the room was empty. The final frame froze on a shadow in the corner. And in the chat replay, a single message. Lurker_23, 02/1755. Jamie's stomach dropped. It's the same. Exactly the same. No. Alex's jaw clenched. "We need to call that detective. Now." We waved. But before Jamie could reach for their phone, the laptop fan whirred to life, the temperature spiking as the screen distorted. A new window forced itself open, a live feed of Jamie's own apartment, time-stamped in red. Now. The camera panned slowly, as if guided by an invisible hand, toward the hallway. There, in the darkness, a silhouette stood perfectly still. Watching. Mashing. Waiting. The chat box flickered at the bottom of the screen. Lurker_24, you're almost out of time. Then the screen went black again. This time it didn't come back on. Jamie's fingers hovered over the keyboard, the glow of the monitor casting sharp shadows across their face. The apartment was too quiet, no hum from the fridge, no creak of floorboards. Just the shallow sound of their own breathing. Alex had left an hour ago, promising to return at dawn. Salt lines on every window. Don't open the door for anyone. Now, alone, Jamie stared at the frozen image still burned into their mind, the silhouette in the hallway, the timestamp counting down to nothing. You're almost out of time. They exhaled shakily and pulled up a search bar. Lurker_23 forum posts. The results loaded, pages of conspiracy threads, creepypasta reposts, and dead links. Jamie scrolled past them, digging deeper. Then, near the bottom of the third page, a single result stood out. Black Hollow Paranormal Forum, archived user Lurker_23 stalker or something worse. The post was dated 9 years ago. Jamie clicked it. Oh, duck. The page loaded slowly, text rendered in faded HTML. The original poster, Shadowseeker91, had written, "Has anyone else noticed Lurker_23 in their streams? They don't chat much, just timestamps. Exact moments when the camera glitches or something moves off screen. At first I thought it was a bot, but then I checked my archives. Every timestamp matches footage of my apartment when I wasn't streaming. Empty rooms, shadows where there shouldn't be any. And then they started knowing things, private things, like they'd been inside my house. Jamie's pulse spiked. They scrolled further. A reply from another user, status echo. Same here. They commented 04/12/06 on my last stream. When I checked the raw footage, that's when my front door opened by itself. No one was there. But the weirdest part, my cat saw something. She hissed at the hallway for a full minute after. Jamie's hands trembled. They kept reading. The thread devolved into arguments. It's just a troll. You're paranoid. Until one final post from Shadowseeker91. Last update, I set up a second camera facing my bed. Lurker_23 commented 02/33/17 last night. I checked the footage this morning. At exactly 02/33/17, something leaned over me while I slept. It had no face. I'm deleting my channel. Don't let them find you. The post ended there. No replies. No updates. Jamie minimized the window, chest tight. They pulled up another search, Shadowseeker91 missing, but found nothing. Just another vanished voice in the digital void. A soft click echoed from the kitchen. Jamie froze. The faucet. It had turned on again. Slowly they turned their head. The sink was empty, water cascading over stainless steel. But the reflection in the window above it. Something moved. A distortion, a ripple in the glass. Like a figure passing just out of sight. Jamie's breath hitched. They didn't dare look away from the reflection. Then, behind them, the laptop fan whirred to life. The screen flickered. A new browser tab opened on its own, loading a YouTube video, an unlisted upload from a channel Jamie didn't recognize. The title: For Jamie. The thumbnail was a freeze frame of Jamie's own apartment, taken from the Livestream camera. In the corner of the shot, barely visible, a shadow stood by the door, hand outstretched, reaching for the knob. Jamie's blood turned to ice. The video began to play. Static, then a whisper, warped and distant. You're getting closer. The screen went black. From the hallway, the softest tap, tap, tap of fingers against wood. Jamie's phone lit up with a notification. A message from Alex. Don't look behind you. But it was too late. In the darkened screen of the laptop, Jamie saw it. The reflection of something standing right behind their chair. Leaning in. And then the lights went out. Jamie's fingers drummed against the desk, the rhythmic tap, 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 the only sound in the quiet apartment. The clock read 2:47 a.m. They should have been asleep hours ago, but sleep was impossible now. Not after what they'd seen in the reflection. Not after Alex's message. Don't look behind you. They hadn't. They'd squeezed their eyes shut until the lights flickered back on, heart hammering so loud they were sure whatever was in the room could hear it. By then the presence had vanished, if it had ever been there at all. Now Jamie stared at their streaming setup, an idea forming. If it's watching me through the camera, maybe I can watch it back. They opened the streaming software, adjusting the settings to keep the feed running even after signing off. No notifications, no alerts, just the camera, silently recording whatever moved in the dark. Jamie took a shaky breath and hit go live. "Hey chat," they murmured, voice rough from exhaustion. The audience at this hour was sparse, just a handful of night owls and insomniacs. Quick test stream. Gonna sign off soon, but stick around if you want. The chat scrolled lazily. "Jamie, you good? Bro, go to sleep." And then, inevitable, as a shadow stretching long at sunset. Lurker _23, 03/15/42. Jamie's stomach twisted. The same timestamp as before. The same minute and second their camera had once kept rolling without them. They forced a laugh. Classic. "All right, I'm out. Sweet dreams, chat." They ended the stream, or pretended to. The camera light stayed on, a tiny red eye in the dark. Jamie backed away slowly, retreating to the couch with their laptop. They pulled up the private viewer link, watching the live feed of their own empty desk, the darkened room beyond. Nothing moved. Minutes ticked by. The apartment stayed silent. Then 03/15/40. Jamie's breath caught. 2 seconds. One. At exactly 03/15/42, the feed glitched, a single frame of distortion. When it cleared, something was different. The chair. It had moved, just an inch, barely noticeable, as if someone had brushed past it. Jamie's pulse roared in their ears. They leaned closer, squinting at the screen. There, in the far corner of the frame, where the shadows pooled thickest, a shape. Too tall, its edges blurred, like static given form. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just watched. Jamie's fingers trembled as they reached for their phone, pulling up Alex's contact. Their thumb hovered over the call button. A whisper of sound from the feed. The figure shifted. Its head tilted, slow and deliberate, toward the camera. Toward Jamie. The chat box on the laptop screen flickered to life, though Jamie hadn't opened it. A single message appeared, stark white against the dark. Lurker _23, you see me now? Jamie's blood turned to ice. The figure took a step forward. Then another. Each movement sent a fresh wave of distortion through the feed, pixels warping like the air above a flame. Jamie scrambled back, nearly dropping the laptop. The thing was halfway across the room now, closing the distance between the screen and the real world. They had to shut it off, had to kill the feed. The lights flickered. The laptop screen went black. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then, from the desk, the camera's red indicator light winked out. Something in the room let out a sigh, a sound like static dissolving into silence. Jamie didn't move, didn't breathe. The clock ticked over to 3:16. Somewhere in the dark, a floorboard creaked. and then, so quiet they almost missed it. Tap. 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 Round. Mev. The library's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow over the rows of microfilm readers. Jamie rubbed their eyes, the lack of sleep making the dates on the newspaper archives blur together. The air smelled like dust and old paper, comforting, in a way, after nights spent jumping at shadows. Alex leaned against the desk beside them, arms crossed. "You sure this is the best use of our time? Shouldn't we be, I don't know, reinforcing the salt lines or something?" Jamie didn't look up. "We need to know what we're dealing with. If this thing has done this before, there'll be a pattern." They slid another reel into the machine, winding it forward to October 2013. The black hollow Gazette headlines flickered past: local politics, weather reports, a high school football victory. Then, halfway down the page, the local vlogger vanishes after disturbing final stream. Jamie's breath caught. The grainy photo showed a young woman, early 20s, with dark circles under her eyes. Mara Voss, 23, reported missing after failing to show up for work. Alex whistled low. "That's her, isn't it? The one from the old forum posts?" Jamie nodded, scanning the article. Friends say Voss had become increasingly paranoid in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, claiming an entity was watching her through her live streams. Police found no signs of forced entry at her apartment, but her computer was left running, a single browser tab open to an unlisted YouTube video titled "They're in the timestamps." The video has since been removed. Jamie's fingers tightened on the edge of the desk. Detectives noted similarities to an unsolved 2005 case involving a college radio host who vanished after reporting phantom callers whispering coordinates during his party show. Alex frowned. "Wait, coordinates?" Jamie's stomach dropped. They pulled out their phone, pulling up the Notes app where they'd logged every Lurker_23 timestamp. 03:15:42, 12:8:33, 02:17:55. "Not coordinates," Jamie whispered, "but numbers. Exact times, just like." A gust of cold air swept through the library, though the windows were closed. The microfilm reader flickered, the image distorting for a split second. When it cleared, the article was unchanged, except for one line at the very bottom, previously cut off. Voss's final stream contained a single chat message from an anonymous user: "You should have stopped looking." Jamie's blood ran cold. Alex grabbed their arm. "We need to go. Now." Jamie barely had time to eject the microfilm before Alex was dragging them toward the exit. The librarian glanced up as they passed, her expression unreadable behind thick glasses. Outside, the afternoon sun did little to ease the chill settling in Jamie's bones. They turned to Alex, voice low. "It's the same thing. The same exact pattern. Timestamps. The camera's staying on. A notification chimed on Jamie's phone. A new email. The subject line: "You missed something." No sender address. Alex's grip tightened. "Don't open that." Jamie hesitated, then tapped the screen. The email contained a single attachment, a scanned newspaper clipping from 2005. The headline: "Radio host's final broadcast, they're in the static." And below it, in the body of the email, just 3 words: You're next. L23. The phone screen flickered. For a fraction of a second, Jamie's reflection twisted, lengthened into something not quite human. Then it was gone. Alex yanked the phone from Jamie's hands, shoving it into their own pocket. We're calling the detective. Today. But as they turned to leave, Jamie caught a flicker of movement in the library window behind them. A shadow. Tall. Still. Watching. And then, as if sensing their gaze, it raised one elongated hand. Vincent pressed it against the glass from the inside. Jamie didn't wait to see more. They grabbed Alex and ran. The detective's office was cramped, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and printer toner. Detective Ruiz, a weary woman in her 50s with sharp eyes, leaned back in her chair, flipping through Jamie's printed notes. The newspaper clippings lay scattered across her desk like pieces of a puzzle no one wanted to solve. "So," she said, tapping the Black Hollow Gazette article, "you think whatever happened to Mara Voss is happening to you now?" Jamie swallowed, fingers twisting around the strap of their bag. Same timestamps. Same patterns. The camera keeps rolling when it shouldn't. The shadows. Ruiz held up a hand. "I'll be honest with you. The Voss case was a dead end. No evidence of foul play. No signs of struggle. Just a missing girl and a lot of internet rumors." She sighed, rubbing her temple. "But I've been on the force long enough to know when something doesn't add up." Alex leaned forward. "Then you believe us?" Ruiz's gaze flicked to the window, where the late afternoon light slanted across the floor. "I believe something's happening. Whether it's a stalker, a hacker, or," she trailed off, shaking her head. "Look, I can't officially reopen a cold case based on Livestream glitches. But unofficially," she slid a manila folder across the desk. Jamie's breath hitched. Inside were crime scene photos of Mara Voss's apartment, the same angles Jamie recognized from their own streams. The desk, the empty chair, the dark hallway beyond. And in one photo, barely visible in the corner, a blurred smudge on the wall. Like a shadow cast by nothing at all. Ruiz pointed to it. "That's the only anomaly in the entire scene. No fingerprints, no fibers, just that." Jamie's pulse pounded in their ears. "Did she have a follower like Lurker_23? Ruiz hesitated. Then, reluctantly, she pulled out a single sheet of paper, a transcript of Mara's final stream. The chat log showed one message, time-stamped at 02/17/55. Lurker_23, you should have stopped looking. Jamie's stomach twisted. The same words from the article. The same exact timestamp from the footage of Mara's empty apartment. Alex's voice was tight. This isn't just a copycat. This is the same thing. Ruiz exhaled sharply. Here's what I can tell you. Mara wasn't the first. There were others, radio hosts, podcasters, even a late-night TV technician in the 80s. All reported strange occurrences tied to broadcasts. They all vanished without a trace. She met Jamie's gaze. And all of them, in their final days, mentioned timestamps. A chill crawled up Jamie's spine. Like it's marking moments it can step through. The detective didn't deny it. She just leaned forward, voice low. If I were you, I'd stop streaming. Stop giving it a window in. Jamie's hands clenched. But that's how it finds new targets. or the footage. Through the archives, they looked down at the photos again, at the shadow in the corner. If I stop now, it'll just move on to someone else. And the cycle continues. Ruiz studied them for a long moment. Then, quietly, she said, "Then you'd better find a way to break it." The office lights flickered. All three of them froze. The detective's computer screen glitched, pixels scrambling into static before resolving into a single image, Jamie's apartment, live-streamed in real time. The camera was angled at the front door, where a shadow stood, hand resting against the wood. Ruiz shot to her feet. "Go. Now." Jamie didn't need telling twice. They grabbed the folder, heart hammering, as Alex yanked them toward the exit. Behind them, the detective's phone began to ring, a shrill, unnatural sound that didn't stop even as they burst into the hallway. Outside, the sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the streets in long, grasping shadows. Alex fumbled for their keys, voice shaking. "We're not going back to your place. Not tonight." "Damn." Jamie nodded, but their eyes were locked on the folder in their hands. One photo had slipped loose, a close-up of Mara's desk. There, half hidden under her keyboard, was a scribbled note. "Salt only slows it down. To stop it, you have to trap it in its own reflection." The streetlights buzzed overhead. Somewhere in the dark, something whispered Jamie's name. They didn't look back. Jamie's phone buzzed against the diner table, rattling a half-empty coffee cup. The screen lit up with a notification, unknown sender. Alex, sitting across the booth, frowned. "You gonna check that?" Jamie hesitated. The detective's warning echoed in their mind, "Stop giving it a window in." But what if it was already inside? They swiped the screen. A single line of text. "Stop digging." No signature, no context. Just two words that sent ice water through Jamie's veins. Alex leaned forward, catching the message. Their face paled. What the hell? Jamie's fingers trembled as they tapped the notification, hoping for a clue, a sender ID, a timestamp, anything. But the message vanished the moment they opened it, leaving no trace. "It knows," Jamie whispered. "It knows we were at the station." Alex snatched the phone, scrolling through the call log. "We need to report this. Now." Jamie shook their head. "And say what?" "Officer, I got a creepy text. They'll laugh us out of the precinct." Alex's jaw tightened. "Then we show them the folder, with the photos, the pattern." Jamie glanced around the diner, the flickering fluorescence, the cook flipping burgers, the lone trucker nursing a coffee at the counter. Normal, safe. But the shadows between the booths seemed darker now, the hum of the fridge too much like static. "Fine," Jamie muttered. "But let's make it quick." The police station was quieter than before, the night shift moving at a sluggish pace. Detective Ruiz wasn't there, but a bored-looking officer took their statement, barely glancing at the folder Jamie shoved across the counter. "Anonymous texts aren't a crime," he said, stifling a yawn. "Block the number." Jamie's nails dug into their palms. "It's connected to a missing persons case." Detective Ruiz knows. The officer waved a hand. "Ruiz is off tonight. File a report if you want, but unless there's an explicit threat, there's nothing we can do." Alex slammed a hand on the counter. So we just wait until Jamie vanishes? The officer blinked, finally looking up. For a second, something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Fear. Then it was gone, buried under bureaucratic indifference. "Get a security camera," he said, sliding the folder back. "And maybe lay off the paranormal streams for a while." Jamie opened their mouth to argue, but Alex grabbed their arm, dragging them toward the exit. "Forget it. We're wasting time." Outside, the street was empty, the sodium lights casting long, skeletal shadows. Jamie's phone buzzed again. Another message. "You should have listened." The screen glitched, a split-second distortion, like a face pressing against glass from the inside. Then it was gone. Alex cursed. "Turn it off. Now." Jamie fumbled with the power button, but the phone wouldn't shut down. The screen dimmed, then brightened, cycling through static before resolving into a live feed. Jamie's apartment, empty and dark. The camera panned slowly, deliberately, to the salt line along the windowsill. A shadowed hand reached into frame and wiped it away. The feed cut to black. Jamie's breath came in short, sharp gasps. "It's inside." Alex's grip tightened. "Then we don't go back." But as they turned to leave, a whisper of sound echoed from Jamie's phone, still clutched in their shaking hands. A voice warped and distant. "Too late." The streetlights flickered. Somewhere down the block, a car alarm wailed to life, then died just as suddenly. And in the silence that followed, Jamie heard it. The soft, unmistakable sound of footsteps behind them. Getting closer. The glow of Jamie's laptop screen was the only light in the motel room, casting long shadows across the peeling wallpaper. The air smelled like stale cigarettes and cheap disinfectant, but at least the locks on the door worked. For now. Or now. Alex snored softly on the adjacent bed, exhausted from the night's terror. Jamie envied them. Sleep was impossible when every blink risked revealing something standing in the corner of the room. They scrolled through the archived forum threads again, fingers stiff with fatigue. The Black Hollow Paranormal Forum had been shut down years ago, but fragments remained, cached pages, broken links, whispers of the past. Then, buried in a sub-forum marked deleted threads, moderated, Jamie found it. A single post recovered from an internet archive site. The title made their pulse stutter. Lurker _23, connected to the Black Hollow disappearances. The post was dated 20 years ago. Jamie leaned closer, squinting at the pixelated text. User Lurker _23 first appeared in chat logs of missing vlogger Mara Voss's final stream. But digging deeper, I found the same username in archived IRC channels from 2003, always posting timestamps, always just before unexplained outages or disturbances. Even weirder, the same pattern appears in police reports from the 1990s, back when online forums were just text-based BBS systems. Always the numbers, always the shadows. The next paragraph was partially corrupted, text scrambled into digital noise. But Jamie caught only fragments. Not a person. Feeds on attention. The more you look, the closer it gets. A reply from another user, their username lost to data decay. I checked the timestamps against missing persons cases. Every single one lines up with the last confirmed sighting. It's like it's marking them, claiming them. Jamie's breath hitched. They pulled up their notes app, cross-referencing the dates, Mara Voss's disappearance, the radio host from 2005. Even the old TV technician Detective Ruiz had mentioned. All matched documented Lurker_23 activity. All ended in silence. A soft creak came from the bathroom. Jamie froze. The door was slightly ajar, the darkness beyond absolute. Hadn't Alex closed it? They glanced at the laptop's camera. The red light was off. They'd taped over it earlier, just in case. Another creak. Closer. Jamie's fingers trembled as they scrolled further down the thread. The final post was from the original author, time-stamped just hours before the forum was wiped clean. It knows I'm looking. It's in my house now. I can hear it in the walls. If you're reading this, don't make my mistake. Stop digging. It's not just Lurker_23 anymore. There are others now. Lurker_24. Lurker_25. They're learning. They're adapting. The screen flickered. For a fraction of a second, the text rearranged itself into a single line. Jamie, turn around. The laptop slammed shut with a crack, the sound jolting Alex awake. Wha? Alex blinked, disoriented. What happened? Jamie couldn't speak. Their gaze was locked on the bathroom door. It was open wider now. And from the darkness within came a sound. A whisper, barely audible, yet crystal clear. You're almost out of time. The motel room's lights went out. Somewhere in the blackness, something breathed. The motel room plunged into darkness so thick Jamie could taste it, metallic, like old pennies on their tongue. Their pulse roared in their ears, drowning out everything but the ragged sound of their own breathing. Alex fumbled for their phone beside them, the sudden glow casting jagged shadows across the walls. What the hell? Jamie didn't answer. Their eyes were fixed on the bathroom doorway. The crack of darkness had widened, the door now hanging ajar like an invitation. Like a threshold. A floorboard creaked inside. Alex's breath hitched. We need to go. Now. Meow. Jamie nodded, but their limbs refused to move. The air had turned gelid, their exhales curling into mist despite the stale warmth of the room. Then, a whisper. Not from the bathroom. Right from behind them. 03:15:42. The voice was wrong, too many layers, like static given sound. Jamie knew that number. It was the first timestamp Lurker_23 had ever sent. The one that matched the extra minute and 42 seconds of empty footage after their stream ended. Alex's phone light flickered, the beam cutting erratically across the room. Did you hear? Jamie didn't wait for them to finish. They lunged for the door, fingers scrambling at the deadbolt. The metal burned under their touch, frost cold. The lock wouldn't turn. Another creak. Closer. The bathroom door swung open another inch. Jamie's reflection flashed in the mirror above the dresser, wide-eyed, terrified. And just behind them, for the briefest moment, a shadow loomed, all thin. Its edges bled into the darkness like ink in water. Alex grabbed Jamie's arm, yanking them back. The window. They stumbled toward the grimy motel window, fingers clawing at the latch. Outside, the parking lot was deserted, the streetlights buzzing faintly. The bathroom door groaned, swinging wide. Jamie didn't look, couldn't look. The window stuck, paint sealing it shut. Alex cursed, driving their elbow into the glass. It cracked but didn't break. A sigh filled the room, long, rattling, like wind through dead leaves. Then from the bathroom, a wet, dragging sound. Something moving across tile. But Jamie's vision tunneled. They braced their foot against the wall and pushed. The window gave with a shriek of splintering wood, cold air rushing in. Alex went first, tumbling onto the pavement below. Jamie followed, the drop jolting through their knees. They didn't stop to check for injuries. Didn't look back. They ran. The motel's neon sign flickered overhead, casting their sprinting shadows long and distorted across the asphalt. Behind them, a sound, deliberate, mocking, echoed through the night. Tap, tap, tap. Jamie risked a glance over their shoulder. Their motel room window stood dark and empty. But the glass was fogged, as if from breath. And written in the condensation, already beginning to drip away, were 3 numbers. 031542. Alex grabbed Jamie's wrist, dragging them toward the highway. Keep moving. Jamie ran, but the whisper followed, curling into their ear like smoke. You can't outrun a shadow, Jamie. And then softer, almost playful. See you soon. Jamie's back hit the door of Alex's car with a thud, their fingers fumbling for the lock. The click of the mechanism was barely audible over the hammering of their pulse. Drive, Jamie gasped. Just drive. Alex didn't hesitate. The engine roared to life, tires screeching as they peeled out of the motel parking lot. The neon sign dwindled in the rearview mirror, its flickering glow swallowed by the night. Jamie twisted in their seat, eyes locked on the motel window until it vanished from sight. No movement, no shadow, just the numbers fading on the glass. 031542. Alex's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. What the hell was that? Jamie opened their mouth, but no words came. The voice, that layered, static whisper, still echoed in their skull. You can't outrun a shadow. They reached for their phone, then froze. The screen was already lit. A notification glowed in the darkness. One new voicemail. No caller ID, no timestamp. Jamie's thumb hovered over the play button. Alex shot them a warning glance. Don't. But they had to know. Had to see. Jamie tapped the notification and braced for the whisper, the scream, the sound of something breathing. Silence. Then, faint but unmistakable, the rhythmic tap-tap-tap of fingers against glass. The same sound from their apartment. The same sound from the motel. The voicemail ended abruptly. The screen went black, then lit up again. A text message, this time from an unknown number. You left the door open. Jamie's stomach dropped. They turned to Alex. We have to go back. Alex's grip tightened on the wheel. Are you insane? The salt lines the research. If it's in my apartment, we can't let it. Jamie, listen to yourself. Alex's voice cracked. This thing followed us to a motel 20 miles away. It doesn't care about salt lines. It's playing with you. Jamie opened their mouth to argue, but the phone buzzed again. Another message. Check the feed. With shaking hands, Jamie pulled up their private Livestream link, the one they left running as a trap. The feed loaded slowly, buffering in jagged fragments. Their apartment. Empty, dark. Then, movement. The camera angle shifted, as if lifted by unseen hands. It panned across the room, over the salt-strewn windowsill, past the laptop they'd left behind, and stopped at the hallway mirror. Jamie's breath caught. The reflection showed the apartment door, wide open. And standing in the threshold, barely visible in the gloom, was a silhouette. Tall, thin, motionless, waiting. The feed glitched. When it cleared, the figure was gone. But the door remained open. A shadow stretched across the floor, long and reaching. And then the screen went black. Jamie's phone chimed one last time. A final message. I'm inside. The street lights flickered overhead as Alex turned onto the highway, the car's headlights cutting through the dark. Jamie stared at their reflection in the passenger window. For a heartbeat, their own face seemed to warp, lengthen into something not quite human. Then it was gone. But the whisper remained, curling through the silence like smoke. See you soon. The rain drummed against the windshield as Alex pulled into the gravel lot of the old detective's house. The place looked abandoned, peeling paint, overgrown hedges, a rusted mailbox tilting like a tombstone. Jamie wiped fog from the car window, their breath shallow. You sure this is the right address? Alex muttered, killing the engine. Jamie checked Detective Ruiz's scribbled note again. Retired. Doesn't like visitors. The numbers matched. She's the only one left who worked Maravos's case. A gust of wind rattled the car as they stepped out, the downpour soaking through Jamie's hoodie within seconds. The porch light flickered as they knocked, the sound swallowed by the storm. Silence. Then, the slow creak of floorboards. The door opened just enough to reveal a single bloodshot eye. Ruiz, Jamie said, raising their voice over the rain. We need to talk about Maravos. The door didn't move. Case is closed. It's happening again. Jamie held up their phone, screen cracked from the motel escape. The Livestream footage glitched on loop, the shadow in the hallway, the open door. Same timestamps, same thing. A long pause. Then the chain slid free. Ruiz's living room smelled like whiskey and mothballs. Newspaper clippings papered the walls, connected by red string. One headline stood out, local legend or lurker. Beneath a grainy photo of a radio tower. The detective sank into a recliner, her hands shaking as she lit a cigarette. You shouldn't be here. Alex hovered by the door. Then give us a reason to leave. Ruiz exhaled smoke, her gaze distant. Mara wasn't the first. Back in '89, a DJ named Carl Eames vanished mid-broadcast. Last thing he said was, "It's in the static." She tapped an old cassette on the coffee table. He found this in his station locker. Listen. The tape hissed as it played. A man's voice, frantic, numbers in the noise, always the same, 03-1542. No, it's here. A wet crunch. Then silence. Jamie's skin prickled. That's the first timestamp Lurker _23 sent me. Ruiz nodded. Before that, it was a TV engineer in '76. Before that, a ham radio operator in '52. All reported voices in the static. All vanished after a final transmission. She leaned forward. You know what they found in their homes? Alex swallowed. What? Salt. Every damn time. Lines on the windows, circles around beds. Like they were trying to keep something out. Ruiz stubbed out her cigarette. We're in. Jamie's phone buzzed. A notification. Lurker _23 2137. The exact time of their first stream. The exact moment the camera had stayed on. Ruiz didn't look at the screen. It's an old story around here. They call it the Hollow Watcher, something that lives in the dead air between signals. Feeds on attention. The more you notice it, the realer it gets. Outside, thunder rolled. The lights dimmed. Alex edged closer to Jamie. How do we stop it? Ruiz's smile was grim. You don't. You survive. She slid a yellowed newspaper toward them. The headline, Mirror Trap Fails in Local Exorcism Attempt, 1932. Jamie's breath caught. The article described a farmer who tried to trap a shadow man in a hall of mirrors. The last line, they found him the next morning, his eyes scratched out. The mirrors were all shattered from the inside. A floorboard creaked upstairs. All three of them froze. Ruiz's hand crept toward a drawer. You need to go. Jamie stood, their pulse roaring. It's here, isn't it? The detective didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the ceiling, where a slow, deliberate tap-tap echoed, like fingers testing the floor above. Alex grabbed Jamie's arm. Now. They bolted for the door just as the lights cut out. In the dark, something sighed, a sound like radio static dissolving into a whisper. Jamie, they didn't look back. The car skidded onto the road, rain lashing the windows. Jamie's phone lit up with a new message. Lurker _24, you shouldn't have come. And beneath it, a final line that stopped Jamie's heart. We're in the back seat. The rearview mirror reflected only empty darkness. But the back of Jamie's neck prickled, like something was breathing just behind them. The car swerved as Alex jerked the wheel, their breath coming in sharp gasps. Jamie didn't dare turn around. The back seat was a yawning void in the rearview mirror, but the air behind them had grown thick, weighted, like the pause between lightning and thunder. Jamie's phone buzzed again. Lurker _24, too late to run. Alex's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. What do we do? When? Jamie's mind raced, fragments of Detective Ruiz's words surfacing through the panic. Feeds on attention. Salt only slows it down. And the other thing, the line from Maravos's notes, trap it in its own reflection. We need a mirror, Jamie whispered. Alex shot them a wild look. What? Ruiz said people tried to trap it before. Mara's notes mentioned reflections. Jamie's voice steadied as the pieces clicked. It's tied to the timestamps, moments when the camera's still running, when it can slip through. If we can catch it in a reflection at the exact time it's marked. A soft click echoed from the back seat. Jamie's breath hitched. The sound was unmistakable, a seatbelt unbuckling. Alex's foot slammed on the gas. The car lurched forward, tires screeching against wet asphalt. We're not stopping. Jamie fumbled for their phone, pulling up the Livestream archives. The timestamps glared back at them. 03:15:42, 12:8:33, 02:17:55, each a moment when the entity had crossed over. But the next one, Lurker _24, had sent was still minutes away, 21:37. The first time it had ever watched them. Jamie's pulse pounded. We have 6 minutes. Find a gas station, somewhere with security mirrors. Alex took a sharp turn, the car skidding onto a side road. A neon sign flickered in the distance, 24-hour quick stop. The back seat creaked. Jamie didn't look, couldn't look. Her reflection in the passenger window wavered, the edges of their silhouette blurring, as if something stood just behind them, warping the light. Alex swerved into the gas station lot, tires crunching over gravel. The store was empty, the fluorescent lights humming behind rain-streaked glass. A convex security mirror hung above the pumps, warping the night into a fishbowl distortion. Jamie checked the time. 21:36:12. 48 seconds. They burst from the car, the rain soaking through their clothes in seconds. The security mirror loomed ahead, reflecting the empty lot, the darkened road, and the car, where the back seat door now stood slightly ajar. Jamie's hands shook as they pulled out their phone, opening the camera app. The screen glitched, pixels scrambling into static. 21:36:48. 12 seconds. Alex grabbed Jamie's shoulder. What's the plan? We trap IT. Jamie angled the phone toward the security mirror, framing both their reflections and the car in the shot. When the timestamp hits, we... A whisper cut through the rain, so close it could have been inside Jamie's skull. You don't know what you're playing with. 21:36:55. 5 seconds. Jamie's thumb hovered over the capture button. The phone screen flickered, the image distorting. Something moved in the car's back seat. A shadow, pooling like spilled ink. 21:36:59. 1 second. The timestamp rolled over to 21:37. Jamie took the shot. The camera flash lit up the night, freezing the scene in a burst of white. The security mirror. The open car door. And in the reflection, caught mid-motion, a figure half emerged from the back seat, elongated limbs, a face smeared into static, one hand reaching toward them. The phone screen went black, then lit up with the captured image. The figure was there, trapped in the reflection, its hollow eyes locked on Jamie's. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the security mirror shattered, glass exploding outward in a hail of shards. The car alarm wailed to life, doors locking and unlocking in rapid succession. The gas station light strobed, cutting the rain into jagged slices of light and dark. And in the chaos, a final whisper. Clever. Then silence. The rain eased. The car alarm died. Jamie's phone screen flickered one last time, the image of the trapped figure glitching, then dissolving into pixels. A new notification appeared. Lurker _24, see you soon. But the timestamp beneath it was wrong. Not numbers. Just 3 words. When you sleep. Alex grabbed Jamie's arm, their face pale. Did it work? Jamie stared at the broken glass scattered across the pavement. The largest shard reflected only the night sky and nothing more. For now. I don't know, Jamie admitted. But as they turned back to the car, the backseat door swung shut with a soft, final click. And the rain washed the rest away. Jamie's hands trembled as they adjusted the camera angle, the red recording light blinking like a warning. The apartment was too quiet, no hum from the fridge, no distant traffic. Just the whisper of their own breath and the faint static hiss of the microphone. Alex leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You sure about this? Jamie didn't look up. It's the only way. The detective's words echoed in their mind. Salt only slows it down. To stop it, you have to trap it in its own reflection. They'd tried that at the gas station. But the image had glitched away. The whispers hadn't stopped. And now, with the latest message, when you sleep, Jamie knew time was running out. They finished drawing the salt line across the windowsill, the granules catching the dim glow of the ring light. A second camera, hidden on the bookshelf, was already recording, just in case the main feed cut out. Alex exhaled sharply. If this goes wrong. It won't. Jamie forced a smile, but their reflection in the darkened monitor looked hollow. Just stick to the plan. The second I give the signal, you hit the lights. Alex nodded, but their fingers tapped an uneven rhythm against their arm. Nervous. Jamie took a shaky breath and hit go live. The chat flooded, and immediately, viewers confused by the late-night stream, others hyped for another deep dive. But Jamie's eyes locked onto the one message that mattered. Lurker _23 tonight. But no timestamp, no numbers, just a single, chilling word. Jamie's throat tightened. They forced their voice steady. Hey chat, change of plans tonight. We're doing something different. The chat scrolled faster. Spooky vibes. Jamie, you look exhausted. Alex's phone buzzed. They glanced at the screen, then stiffened. Jamie. But Jamie was already reading the new message in chat. Lurker _24, we're here. The lights flickered. The camera feed glitched, just for a second, and when it cleared, something was different. The salt line on the windowsill was undisturbed. But in the reflection of the glass behind it, the white granules were smeared, as if something had already crossed through. Jamie's pulse pounded. Now Alex. Alex hit the lights. The room plunged into darkness, except for the glow of the monitors, casting jagged shadows. And there, in the corner of the screen, barely visible in the low light, a shape, tall, still, watching. The chat exploded. "What is that?" "Jamie, run." Jamie didn't move. Their fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to trigger the backup plan, the mirrored surface they'd set up just off camera, angled to catch the entity's reflection the moment it stepped into frame. The shadow shifted. One step forward. Then another. Malay. Closer. The feed distorted, pixels warping like the air above a flame. Jamie's breath hitched. Almost there. The camera cut to static. The chat froze. And from the darkness behind Jamie, a whisper. "Clever." Then the screen went black. The last thing Jamie saw was their own reflection, and the figure standing right behind them, its hand resting on their shoulder. The feed died. But the red recording light on the hidden camera stayed on. Still watching. Still waiting. The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely, plunging the room into a darkness so thick Jamie could taste it. The scent of ozone clung to the air, sharp and electric, as if the atmosphere itself had been split open. The chat was frozen mid-scroll, the last messages still glowing on the screen. "Jamie, look out. It's right behind you." Jamie didn't move, didn't breathe. The weight of the hand on their shoulder was ice cold, fingers pressing just hard enough to be felt through the fabric of their hoodie. Alex's voice cut through the silence, strained and urgent. "Jamie, now." Jamie's hand shot out, slamming down on the keyboard shortcut they'd programmed earlier. The secondary monitor flared to life, casting a sickly blue glow across the room and the mirrored surface they'd rigged beside the desk. The entity's reflection flickered into view, the ball, gaunt. A silhouette of static and shadow, its edges bleeding into the darkness. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the figure in the mirror twisted, its head tilting at an impossible angle, black pits where eyes should have been locking onto Jamie's. The whisper came again, layered with a dozen voices, some screaming, some laughing, all warped beyond recognition. "You think this will hold me?" The mirror cracked. A spiderweb of fractures split the glass, each shard reflecting a different fragment of the entity. A hand here, a sliver of face there, all still moving, still reaching. Jamie's pulse roared in their ears. The ritual wasn't working. The reflection wasn't strong enough to trap it. Alex lunged forward, salt container in hand, and hurled a line across the threshold between Jamie and the mirror. The granules hit the floor with a soft hiss, and for a fraction of a second, the figure recoiled. It was enough. Jamie grabbed the backup, a small, handheld mirror from their pocket, and angled it toward the entity. "Look," they hissed. The figure stilled. Its reflection in the smaller mirror was clearer, sharper. Every detail of its unnatural form crystallized in the glass, the way its limbs stretched too long, the way its mouth split into a grin too wide for any human face. And then, impossibly, the reflection blinked. Not the entity. Mafok. The reflection itself. Jamie's breath caught. The cracks in the larger mirror stopped spreading. The whispers died mid-syllable. And then, the entity's hand jerked away from Jamie's shoulder, as if yanked by an unseen force. Its form shuddered, distorting like a corrupted video file, pixels scrambling as it was pulled backward. Toward the mirror. Toward its own reflection. The glass trembled. The cracks sealed themselves, knitting back together with an audible snap. And then, with a sound like 1,000 radios tuning to dead air at once, the entity was gone. The room fell silent. The lights flickered back on. Jamie's knees buckled. They caught themselves on the edge of the desk, gasping, their reflection in the now whole mirror staring back at them, normal. Alone. Alex let out a shaky breath. Holy shit. The chat, still frozen, suddenly erupted back to life, messages scrolling too fast to read, viewers screaming in all caps, demanding to know what had just happened. Jamie ignored them. Their eyes were locked on the mirror. It was empty. But for how long? A notification popped up on the screen, a private message from an account that shouldn't exist anymore. Lurker _23, you can't trap a shadow forever. And beneath it, a new timestamp. The clock on Jamie's desk ticked over to midnight. Somewhere in the apartment, a floorboard creaked. The mirror fogged over, as if from breath. And in the condensation, a single word formed. Soon. The mirror fogged over, the word soon lingering like a promise before fading into nothing. Jamie's breath came in short, sharp gasps, their fingers gripping the edge of the desk until their knuckles turned white. Alex grabbed their arm. We need to go. Now. Now. Jamie barely heard them. Their eyes were locked on the mirror, on the empty reflection that shouldn't have been empty. The entity was gone, trapped in the glass, but the weight of its presence still clung to the air, thick and suffocating. Then the lights flickered again. A whisper curled through the room, barely audible yet deafening in its closeness. Jamie, their name, spoken in that layered, static voice. Jamie's pulse roared in their ears. They turned slowly, unwillingly, toward the darkest corner of the room, where the shadows pooled unnaturally deep. Something moved. A figure peeled itself from the darkness, its edges glitching like a corrupted video feed. It stepped forward, the light bending around it, warping the space between reality and something else. Jamie's breath hitched. The entity stood before them, fully revealed for the first time. All gaunt. Its limbs stretched too long, its joints bending at impossible angles. Its face was a shifting void, hollow eyes flickering between human and something other, pixels dissolving and reforming like static given flesh. The chat on the frozen stream exploded, messages screaming in all caps. What is that? Jamie, run. It's in the room. But Jamie couldn't move, couldn't look away. The entity's mouth split into a grin too wide, too sharp. You see me now? It whispered, its voice a chorus of distorted frequencies. Alex yanked Jamie backward, breaking the trance. The counter-ritual, now. Jamie fumbled for the slip of paper in their pocket, the words Detective Ruiz had given them, scrawled in shaky handwriting. An old incantation, pulled from the same archives as the mirror trap. Their voice trembled as they began to recite. By salt and silver, by glass and light. The entity's grin faltered. It took a step forward, the air around it crackling with interference. I banish you from this place tonight. The lights surged, the bulbs flaring bright enough to burn Jamie's eyes. The entity flinched, its form distorting, static tearing across its body like a fraying signal. But it didn't stop. It lunged. Jamie barely sidestepped, the paper crumpling in their grip as they continued, louder. By name I bind you, by word I seal. The entity's hand shot out, fingers brushing Jamie's wrist. The contact was ice cold, a jolt of numbness shooting up their arm. Their voice faltered. Alex grabbed the salt container and hurled a handful at the figure. The granules passed through it, scattering across the floor, but the entity recoiled, hissing like steam on hot metal. Jamie forced the last words out, voice raw. By your own reflection you are. The entity's whisper cut them off, sudden and intimate, its lips nearly brushing Jamie's ear. Her full name, not just the nickname. Not just the alias they used online. Their real name. Jamie's blood turned to ice. The entity smiled, its hollow eyes locking onto theirs. You should have stopped looking. The mirror behind them shattered. Glass rained down, shards skittering across the floor. The entity's form wavered, its edges dissolving into static, but it wasn't retreating. It was laughing, the sound like a dozen radios tuned to dead channels. The lights cut out. The chat died mid-scroll. And in the darkness, the entity's whisper curled around Jamie like smoke. See you soon. Then, silence. The lights flickered back on. The room was empty. Jamie's knees gave out. They collapsed against the desk, their breath coming in ragged gasps. The mirror lay in pieces, reflecting nothing but the ceiling. Alex's hands shook as they helped Jamie up. Did it work? Jamie didn't answer. Their eyes were fixed on the shattered glass. One shard reflected the doorway, where a shadow lingered, just for a second, before melting into the hall. And on the desk, the frozen livestream chat glitched back to life. A single message waited, from an account that hadn't been there before. Lurker_25, we're still watching. Then the screen went black. Somewhere in the apartment, a floorboard creaked. The cycle wasn't over. It had only just begun. The ritual had worked, for now. Jamie's hands shook as they stuffed clothes into a duffel bag, their movements frantic. The air in the apartment still smelled like burnt ozone and salt, the remnants of the failed banishment clinging to every surface. The shattered mirror lay in pieces on the floor, its shards reflecting nothing but the flickering overhead light. Alex stood by the door, their phone clenched in one hand. Detective Ruiz isn't picking up. Jamie didn't look up. We can't wait for her. They grabbed the last of their notebooks, pages filled with timestamps, forum archives, Detective Ruiz's scribbled warnings, and shoved it into the bag. The words Lurker_25 glared up at them from the most recent entry, underlined 3 times. We're still watching. The entity was gone, but not defeated. Jamie had seen the way it slipped through the cracks in the ritual, the way it whispered their real name like a secret it had no right to know. It was learning, adapting. And now there were more of them. Lurker_23, Lurker_24, Lurker_25. Alex's voice was tight. Where do we even go? Somewhere off-grid. No cameras, no streams. Jamie zipped the bag shut, their reflection in the darkened TV screen hollow-eyed and haunted. If it feeds on attention, we starve it. A floorboard creaked in the hallway. Both of them froze. The sound was soft, deliberate, like something testing its weight on the wood. Alex's grip on the doorknob tightened. Jamie. I know. Jamie grabbed their phone off the desk, the screen lighting up with a new notification before they could turn it off. Lurker_25. Running won't help. The timestamp beneath it wasn't numbers. It was a location. Their current address. Jamie's breath hitched. They shoved the phone into their pocket without responding, but the damage was done. The entity knew they were trying to leave. Alex yanked the door open. Now. Now. They bolted into the hall, the apartment door slamming shut behind them. The hallway was empty, the overhead lights buzzing faintly, but the air felt thick, charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. The elevator was out of the question. Too enclosed, too many reflective surfaces. Jamie veered toward the stairwell, their footsteps echoing too loud in the narrow space. Halfway down, the lights flickered. A whisper curled up from the darkness below, layered and distorted. You can't hide. Jamie didn't stop, didn't look back. They hit the ground floor at a sprint, bursting through the exit into the cold night air. The parking lot was deserted, their car the only one left under the flickering street lamp. Alex fumbled with the keys, hands shaking. It's following us. Jamie knew. They could feel it, the weight of unseen eyes, the prickle of static against their skin. They glanced at the building's upper windows, half expecting to see a figure watching from the darkness. Nothing. But the reflection in the car window wavered as Jamie slid into the passenger seat, their own face twisting for a split second into something not quite human. Alex slammed the gas before Jamie's door was fully closed, the tires screeching against asphalt. The apartment building shrank in the rearview mirror, its windows dark. Empty. For now. Jamie's phone buzzed in their pocket. They didn't check it. They already knew what it would say. Somewhere behind them, in the quiet of the abandoned apartment, the shattered mirror shards trembled. Then stilled. Waiting. The escape had only just begun. And the entity was patient. It could always find them again. Jamie's phone buzzed relentlessly on the motel nightstand, notifications flooding in, comments, tags, shares. The live stream had gone viral overnight. Fake but creepy AF. Deepfake glitch was sick. Bro, get a hobby, this is sad. No one believed it was real. Jamie scrolled through the reactions with numb fingers, the blue light of the screen harsh in the darkened room. Their reflection in the blackened window looked hollow, dark circles under their eyes, lips chapped from biting back screams. Alex paced the cramped space between the beds, running a hand through their hair. We need to call the cops again. Show them the footage. They'll say the same thing everyone else is saying. Jamie's voice was raw. They pulled up the stream replay. The moment the entity had stepped into frame, its static, warped form glitching across millions of screens. The comments rolled past. Where's the jump scare? Jamie shut it off. The silence that followed was worse. Alex stopped pacing. Then we leave. We're real this time. No streaming, no cameras. It won't matter. Jamie's fingers traced the salt line they'd drawn along the windowsill. The granules were undisturbed, but the reflection in the glass. Something flickered in it, just for a second. Alex grabbed Jamie's shoulders. Look at me. You're not safe here. Jamie met their gaze. I'm not safe anywhere. A whisper of static curled through the room, so faint it could have been the AC unit. But the air smelled like ozone. Alex's grip tightened. Then we disappear. No trail, no digital footprint. Jamie shook their head. It's in the timestamps, Alex. It doesn't need a feed. It just needs they trailed off, eyes flicking to the motel TV. The black screen reflected their exhausted faces, and the faintest shadow standing just behind them. Were gone when they turned. Alex followed their gaze, paling. We can't stay. Jamie's phone lit up with a new notification, a DM from an anonymous account. You left the door open again. Attached was a photo of Jamie's apartment. The front door swung wide, darkness pooling in the hallway beyond. Jamie stood abruptly, knocking over the salt line. The granules scattered across the carpet like fallen stars. We run, they whispered. But it won't be enough. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm wailed, then cut off abruptly. The motel room's lights flickered. In the brief darkness, the reflection in the TV screen smiled. The engine hummed softly as Jamie pulled onto the highway, the city lights shrinking in the rearview mirror. Alex sat in the passenger seat, fingers drumming an uneven rhythm against their knee. The radio played static. No matter what station Jamie turned to, the sound never cleared. They'd left everything behind. The apartment, the streaming setup, the shattered remains of the mirror trap. Only the essentials filled the back seat, a duffel bag of clothes, a notebook filled with research, and a container of salt that had already spilled across the floor mats. Jamie's phone buzzed in the cup holder, but they didn't look at it. Alex exhaled sharply. You should turn it off. Jamie's grip tightened on the steering wheel. And miss it if it tries to contact us. That's the point. Alex reached for the phone, then hesitated. The screen lit up with another notification. Unknown sender. You can't outrun the signal. Jamie's throat tightened. They'd changed their number. Twice. The radio static surged, a burst of noise so loud Jamie flinched. Then, beneath the hiss, a whisper. Jamie. Alex slammed the power button. Silence filled the car, heavy and suffocating. Jamie focused on the road, the yellow lines blurring under the headlights. We'll find somewhere remote. No Wi-Fi. No cameras. Alex didn't answer. Their reflection in the window was pale, their eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the glass. The road stretched ahead, empty and endless. Then, a flicker of movement in the rearview mirror. Jamie's breath hitched. The back seat was empty, the duffel bag undisturbed. But for a fraction of a second, something had shifted in the reflection, a shadow where there shouldn't be one. Alex's voice was barely audible. "Did you see?" Jamie didn't answer. Their foot pressed harder on the gas. The phone buzzed again. This time Jamie looked. A single message from Lurker_23. "See you soon." The screen went black. And in the silence that followed, the softest tap-tap echoed from the back seat, like fingers drumming against glass. The cabin smelled of pine and damp earth, the wooden walls creaking with every gust of wind. Jamie stood in the center of the single room, clutching the forged ID in their hands, Jesse Mercer, the name printed in crisp black letters. It felt alien, like wearing someone else's skin. Alex had pulled every favor to make it happen: cash payments, burner emails, a friend of a friend who knew a guy. No trail, no digital footprint. "It's not perfect," Alex had warned, pressing the documents into Jamie's hands. "But it's enough to disappear." Jamie tucked the ID into their pocket and turned to the small mirror nailed to the wall. Their reflection stared back, hollow-eyed, hair uneven from where they'd hacked at it with kitchen scissors. The dark circles under their eyes had deepened, a testament to weeks of restless nights and whispered fears. They looked like a stranger. That was the point. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, branches scraping against the roof like skeletal fingers. The cabin was miles from the nearest town, tucked deep in the woods where the Wi-Fi signal died and cell service was a myth. Perfect. Jamie had sworn off streaming, deleted every account, scrubbed their online presence down to the digital bone. No more cameras, no more timestamps, no more shadows lurking in the corner of the frame. But the paranoia lingered. Every creak of the floorboards set their teeth on edge. Every flicker of the lantern light sent their pulse racing. And the mirrors. Jamie avoided the mirrors. They'd covered the one in the bathroom with a towel, the one above the sink with a sheet. Only the small wall mirror remained uncovered, a necessary evil, a way to ensure they still looked human. But sometimes, in the periphery of their vision, the reflection moved when they didn't. Jamie turned away, forcing their breathing steady. It's not here. It can't be. The cabin was safe, isolated. No cameras, no feeds, no way for the entity to slip through. Except the radio. Jamie had found it in the cabin's dusty closet, an old analog thing with a cracked dial and fraying wires. They hadn't turned it on, hadn't even touched it. But sometimes, in the dead of night, it crackled to life on its own. Static, whispering. A voice buried deep in the noise, saying things Jamie couldn't quite make out. They'd unplugged it yesterday. This morning, it was plugged back in. Jamie's fingers trembled as they yanked the cord from the wall again, tossing it into the closet and slamming the door shut. Silence. Then a soft click. The closet door swung open an inch. Jamie's breath caught. The radio sat inside, untouched, the cord still unplugged. But the dial had turned. The frequency display read 31.542. Jamie stumbled back, their pulse roaring in their ears. No. They lunged forward, grabbing the radio and hurling it against the wall. The plastic casing shattered, wires spilling like guts across the floor. Silence. Jamie's chest heaved, their hands shaking. Then, from the wreckage, a whisper. "You can't hide forever, Jamie." Their real name. Jamie's legs gave out. They collapsed to their knees, their reflection in the small wall mirror warping at the edges, stretching, twisting, until it wasn't their face staring back anymore. It was its face. Hollow eyes, a grin too wide. The whisper came again, this time from everywhere at once, the walls, the floor, the space between breaths. "See you soon." And then faint but unmistakable, the sound of fingers drumming against glass. Tap, tap, tap. Months passed. The cabin settled into Jamie's bones, the scent of pine, the creak of old wood, the silence so deep it rang in their ears. No cameras, no streams, no whispers in the dark. At least that's what Jamie told himself. They'd covered every mirror, unplugged every device, drawn salt lines along every windowsill. The radio had stayed broken, its shattered pieces buried in the woods behind the cabin. But sometimes, in the dead of night, Jamie still heard it, the soft tap 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 of fingers against glass. They never looked. Then, on a cold morning in late November, the knock came. Jamie nearly dropped their coffee. The sound was so foreign, so wrong, after months of isolation. Their pulse roared as they crept to the door, peering through the peephole. A woman stood on the porch, bundled in a thick coat, her breath fogging in the crisp air. Mid-40s, maybe, with wind-chapped cheeks and a wary smile. Jamie hesitated, then cracked the door open just enough to speak. "Can I help you?" The woman's smile widened. "Hey, neighbor. Sorry to bother you. Just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Diane. Moved into the old Henderson place down the road." Jamie's fingers tightened on the doorframe. The Henderson place was half a mile away, barely visible through the trees. They'd never expected neighbors. Diane shifted, her boots crunching on the frost-covered porch. "Listen, I know you keep to yourself. Folks in town said you're real private, but I wanted to ask, have you seen anything weird around here at night?" Jamie's blood turned to ice. "Weird?" Diane glanced over her shoulder, as if checking the tree line. "Yeah, like someone lurking. I've spotted a figure a few times just standing at the edge of the woods, watching the house. But when I go out, there's no one there." She laughed, but it was thin, nervous. "Probably just some kids messing around, but..." Jamie's throat tightened. "When?" "Huh? When did you see it?" Diane frowned. "Last night around midnight. And the night before that. Always late." She hesitated. "Why? Have you seen something?" Jamie's gaze flicked past her, to the tree line beyond the cabin. The shadows between the pines seemed darker now, thicker. A shape moved. Just for a second. Then gone. 9. Jamie's breath hitched. Diane followed their stare, her voice dropping to a whisper. You have seen it. Jamie didn't answer. Their pulse pounded in their ears, a frantic drumbeat of dread. Because they knew. It wasn't kids. It wasn't a person. And it wasn't just watching Diane's house. It was watching theirs. Jamie swallowed hard, their voice barely audible. What time exactly? Diane's answer sent a chill down their spine. 12:08. Jamie's coffee cup slipped from their fingers, shattering on the porch. 12:8:33. The timestamp from their second stream. The exact moment the shadow had first stepped into frame. Diane took a step back, alarmed. Hey, you okay? Jamie didn't hear her. Their eyes were locked on the tree line, where the shadows now stretched too long, too wrong. And in the space between the pines, something stood perfectly still. Watching, waiting. Jamie slammed the door. Diane's muffled protest faded as Jamie backed away, their breath coming in sharp gasps. The cabin walls felt too thin, the salt lines too fragile. Because it was back. And this time it wasn't just in the timestamps. It was here. Jamie's phone buzzed on the counter, a sound they hadn't heard in months. They didn't want to look. But they had to. The screen lit up with a single notification. Lurker _23, welcome home. Jamie's fingers trembled as they pulled up the security camera feed on their phone. The screen flickered, the image pixelated and glitching, but the figure in the woods was unmistakable. Tall, still, staring directly at the cabin. The timestamp in the corner read 12:8:33. Jamie's breath hitched. It was here. The Lurker _23 had found them. Diane's voice echoed from the porch, muffled through the door. Hey, are you okay in there? Jamie didn't answer. Their pulse roared in their ears as they zoomed in on the figure. The camera distorted its edges, warping its silhouette like static given form. Then it moved. Not toward the cabin, not away. Just a tilt of its head, as if it knew Jamie was watching. The feed cut to black. Jamie's phone buzzed again. A new message. Lurker _23, you can't hide forever. The screen glitched, the words rearranging themselves into a single line. I missed you. Jamie dropped the phone like it had burned them. Diane knocked again, louder this time. Seriously, you're freaking me out. Open up. Jamie forced their legs to move, unlocking the door with shaking hands. Diane stood on the porch, her face pale. What the hell was that? She demanded. Jamie's voice was hollow. You need to leave. Diane blinked. What? Now Jamie's gaze flicked past her, to the tree line. The figure was gone, but the shadows between the pines seemed darker, thicker. Diane followed their stare, her breath catching. Oh my God, you see it too. Jamie grabbed her arm, yanking her inside and slamming the door. Don't look at it. Don't acknowledge it. Diane pulled away, eyes wide. What is that thing? Jamie didn't answer. Their phone buzzed again on the floor. the screen lighting up with another notification. Diane picked it up before Jamie could stop her, her face drained of color. What the hell is Lurker _23? Jamie snatched the phone back. The message was still there, glowing on the screen. Lurker _23, she shouldn't have come here. The lights flickered. The air turned gelid, Jamie's breath fogging in front of them. Diane backed toward the door, her voice shaking. I'm calling the police. They won't help. Jamie's grip tightened on the phone. No one can. A whisper curled through the cabin, so soft it could have been the wind. Jamie. Diane froze. Did you hear that? Jamie didn't answer. Their reflection in the darkened window wavered, their own face twisting. Then the power went out. Darkness swallowed the cabin. Diane's breath hitched. Oh my God. Oh my God. Something tapped against the window. Once, twice, 3 times. Jamie's phone lit up one last time, the screen casting a sickly glow across their terrified faces. A final message. Lurker _23, let me in. Then the screen went black, and the doorknob turned. The doorknob stopped mid-turn with a sharp click. Jamie had thrown the deadbolt just in time. Diane's breath came in ragged gasps beside them. What is that? Bah. Jamie didn't answer. Their fingers dug into the salt-lined windowsill as they peered through the glass. The woods were too still. No wind, no rustling leaves. Just the endless dark between the trees. Then, movement. A shadow peeled itself from the blackness, gliding toward the cabin without footsteps, without sound. It stopped just beyond the porch, its edges flickering like a corrupted signal. Jamie's pulse pounded. They recognized that distortion. The same static warping from their streams. The same hollow eyes. Lurker _23 had found them. Diane grabbed Jamie's arm. We need to go. Or now. Now. Jamie shook their head. Running won't help. Not anymore. Oh. They turned to the duffel bag by the couch, yanking it open. Inside, nestled between clothes and crumpled notes, was the last piece of the ritual, the one Mara Voss had scribbled about before she vanished. Trap it in its own reflection. Jamie pulled out the small, silver hand mirror they'd packed months ago, its surface polished to a flawless shine. Diane's eyes widened. What are you doing? Ending this. Jamie's voice was steadier than they felt. The air in the cabin grew heavier, pressing against Jamie's skin like the weight before a storm. The salt lines along the floorboards trembled, granules shifting as if disturbed by an unfelt breeze. A whisper curled through the room, layered with static. You can't win, Jamie. Diane flinched. It knows you? Jamie ignored the dread coiling in their gut. They stepped toward the window, mirror raised. It's been watching me for months. But this time, I'm watching back. Outside, the figure tilted its head. Then, in a flicker of distortion, it vanished. The cabin lights surged back on, blindingly bright. Diane gasped. Is it? A thud shook the front door. then another. The wood splintered around the deadbolt. Jamie's hands shook, but they didn't lower the mirror. "Get behind me." The door exploded inward. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of ozone and something older, damp earth, rotting film, static given form. The shadow stood in the threshold, its hollow eyes fixed on Jamie. Diane screamed. The entity stepped forward. Jamie raised the mirror. "Look," they hissed. The figure froze. Its reflection stared back from the polished silver, a perfect, monstrous replica. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the reflection blinked. Not the entity. The mirror itself. The shadow recoiled, its edges fraying into static. It tried to turn away, but the mirror's surface rippled like water, pulling the reflection, pulling it deeper. Jamie's arms burned with the effort of holding steady. "It's working." The entity's whisper became a scream, a dozen voices layered into one. The cabin lights flickered wildly, shadows stretching and twisting as the figure fought against the glass. Diane grabbed Jamie's shoulders, bracing them as the wind howled through the shattered door. "Don't let go." Jamie didn't. They held the mirror higher, forcing the entity to confront its own warped reflection. The glass grew colder, frost spider webbing across its surface. The entity's form distorted, pixels scrambling as it was dragged backward. Into the mirror. Into its own trapped image. With a sound like shattering frequencies, the shadow collapsed inward, the reflection swallowing it whole. Silence. The mirror fogged over, the glass now black and depthless. Jamie's arms gave out, and the mirror clattered to the floor, but it didn't break. Diane's breath came in sharp gasps. "Is it... gone?" Jamie sagged against the wall, exhaustion crashing over them. "For now? Or now?" Diane stared at the mirror. "What do you mean, for now?" Jamie didn't answer. Their gaze was fixed on the fogged glass, where 3 words had formed in the condensation. "See you soon." Then beneath it, a new line, Lurker _24. The cabin lights flickered once more before steadying. Outside, the wind began to howl again. And somewhere in the distance, a floorboard creaked. The cycle wasn't over. It had only just begun. The entity was gone. Jamie sat in the quiet of the cabin, staring at the blackened mirror where Lurker _23 had vanished. The air no longer smelled of ozone, no longer carried that electric hum of something other. The salt lines remained undisturbed. The windows reflected only trees and sky. For the first time in months, there was silence. Diane had left hours ago, shaken but unharmed, swearing never to speak of what she'd seen. Jamie didn't blame her. Some things were better left unacknowledged. Alex had texted, "Did it work?" But Jamie hadn't replied. Not yet. Because they weren't sure. The mirror was still warm to the touch, the glass unnaturally smooth. When Jamie tilted it, their reflection warped at the edges, as if something beneath the surface was pressing back. They covered it with a cloth and set it in the closet, burying it under old blankets. Out of sight, but not gone. Weeks passed. Jamie returned to the city, to their old apartment. The door was still unlocked, just as they'd left it. The salt lines had been wiped away. The shattered mirror shards were gone. The Livestream setup remained untouched. Jamie hesitated before powering it on. The monitor flickered to life, the familiar hum of the PC filling the quiet. Their fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then they clicked go live. The chat flooded in almost instantly, viewers excited, confused, demanding answers. Where have you been? We thought you were dead. Was the last stream real? Jamie forced a smile. Hey chat, long time no see. They kept the stream light. No deep dives. No horror topics, just casual gaming, easy banter. But their eyes kept flicking to the chat log, scanning for one name. Lurker_23 never appeared. The timestamp in the corner ticked onward. 03:15:42 came and went without incident. No glitches, no shadows, no whispers. When the stream ended, the camera shut off like normal. Jamie exhaled. Maybe it was over. But that night, as Jamie lay in bed, the silence pressed too close. Every creak of the apartment, every rustle of fabric sent their pulse spiking. They checked the closet mirror 3 times before sleeping. It remained covered. Still. Empty. The streams continued. Jamie's viewers grew, their channel thriving. The past became a distant nightmare, fading with each uneventful broadcast. Until one night, Jamie was mid-sentence, laughing at a joke in chat when the notification popped up. A new user had joined. The username sent ice through Jamie's veins. Lurker_24. No message, no timestamp. No, just the name, sitting silently in the user list. Jamie's breath hitched. Their reflection in the darkened monitor wavered, just for a second, before settling back into place. The chat scrolled on, oblivious. But Jamie knew. The silence had been a lie. And the entity had never left. It was just waiting. Watching. Learning. Jamie's fingers trembled as they reached for the power button. But before they could shut it down, a new message appeared. Lurker_24. Did you miss me? The screen went black. And somewhere in the apartment, a floorboard creaked.